Level 1. The bailiff. The judge says 12 years, and a woman in the third row makes a sound you will hear for the rest of your life. You're 24. You're the bailiff. Your job is to hold the door. $34,000 a year. A polyester uniform, a radio on your hip, 9 hours a day standing on a marble floor that eats your knees. You escort jurors. You quiet the gallery. You hold the door for men on the worst day of their lives. 4 nights a week, you drive across town to law school. Torts on Monday, contracts on Wednesday. You eat dinner out of a vending machine and you do your reading in the parking garage because the library closes before your shift ends. The tuition goes on loans. $1,900 a semester becomes a number you stop looking at. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later. Your partner at the courtroom door is Walter, 31 years in this building. He can tell you which lawyer is lying by the way they button their jacket. He teaches you the first rule you ever learn about justice. Watch the hands, not the faces. Faces are for the jury. Hands tell the truth. You work courtroom 4B. Judge Loretta Mabry, 60 years old, reading glasses on a chain, a voice that never rises because it never has to. One afternoon during recess, she catches you at your post with an evidence casebook hidden inside a clipboard. She doesn't report you. She goes back to chambers and comes out with her own copy. 20 years old, spine broken, notes in the margins in blue ink. Bring it back when you pass the bar. That's the whole conversation. It changes your life, because standing at that door day after day, you figure out something nobody says out loud. Everyone in that room is talking. The lawyers, the witnesses, the defendant, the gallery. Everyone is speaking. Only one person's words become years. You fail the bar exam the first time. 3 points. You find out on your lunch break, and you go back to your post and hold the door for 4 more hours, because the mortgage on your life doesn't care about your feelings. You pass the second time. You return the book to Judge Mabry with your bar card tucked inside like a bookmark. She looks at it for a long moment. Good, she says. Now go find out what the law costs. Level 2. The public defender. It costs $54,000 a year, and every hour you're awake. You take the public defender job because someone has to, and because no firm is calling a night school graduate who passed on the second try. They hand you 212 open files on your first Monday, 212 human beings, and you get about 11 minutes with each one, through scratched plexiglass, over a phone that smells like bleach. Your student loans have grown to $147,000. The minimum payment is $1,240 a month. You pay $410 on an income plan, and the balance grows while you sleep. You owe more every morning than you did the night before. That's the math they don't put on the law school brochure. You learn the trial tax fast. Take the plea, get 18 months. Go to trial, lose, get 5 years. Same man, same facts. The system charges you for making it work, so you stand next to people you half believe and you advise them to say guilty, because the odds are a casino and the house never loses. Then there's Marcus, 19, took $900 of power tools off a job site to pawn for rent. Because of a prior on his record, he's facing 3 years. Mandatory. You read his file at midnight because it's the only time you have, and something's wrong. The prior is from when he was 16. It should have been sealed. Somebody miscoded it a decade ago, and nobody ever looked. You look. You file the motion. The prior evaporates, and Marcus walks out with probation and a spot in an electrician's apprentice program instead of a cell. In the hallway, his grandmother takes your hand in both of hers and presses a folded $20 bill into your palm. You try to give it back. She closes your fist around it and looks at you like the argument is over. You put that 20 in your desk drawer. You will keep it for the next 30 years. You need it, because most days are not Marcus. Most days you lose. Most days you watch the machine eat someone at 11 minutes per serving, and you feel yourself starting to see case numbers instead of faces. The 20 in the drawer is how you remember which one you are. Level 3. The hired gun. In year 6, a firm across the street offers you $160,000. You say it's for the loans. You say it's 2 years, maximum. You say a lot of things. Now your clients have money, and you learn what money does to a courtroom. A surgeon's second DUI disappears into a diversion program that costs $30,000 and leaves no record. Your old clients did 90 days for less. The difference was never the crime. The difference was the retainer. A developer who defrauded investors out of millions pays $1.4 million in restitution, keeps his license, keeps his freedom, and shakes your hand like you closed a real estate deal. In a way, you did. You learned the most important number in American law. It's not the sentence, it's the price of the lawyer. Your first bonus check is $28,000. You stare at it longer than you should. Then you fire it straight at the loans. And at 33 years old, you and Dana pay off the last $9,000 and eat pizza sitting on the floor of a house you can finally afford, laughing like teenagers. It's the best meal of your life. Cold pizza on hardwood, debt-free. You're good at this work, too good. You win an acquittal for a man you're fairly sure did it, and that night you sleep fine. Sleeping fine is the part that scares you. Judge Mabry catches you in the courthouse hallway that same month. She looks at your new suit the way she once looked at bad evidence. "There's a magistrate seat opening in the fall," she says. "You've stood at the door. You've sat at both tables. That's exactly what the bench is missing." Then quieter. "Don't get comfortable over there. Comfort is where good lawyers go to disappear." Applications close Friday. You apply Thursday night. Level 4. The magistrate. The seat comes with a pay cut nobody believes you took. $210,000 a year. With bonuses, down to $141,500. Your colleagues at the firm think you've lost your mind. Dana sits at the kitchen table with a legal pad, runs the numbers twice, and slides it across to you. "We started at 34. She says. "We know the way back." Judge Mabry administers your oath in courtroom 4B, the room where you used to hold the door. Walter stands in the back with his arms crossed, trying not to smile and failing. The first time you walk in wearing the robe, 60 people stand up. Not for you, for the robe. You will spend years learning the difference, and the judges who never learn it are the ones this job destroys. Your docket is the small stuff: traffic, evictions, small claims, bail. Bail is where you find out what you actually are. You set $5,000 on a man one morning. Routine, by the book. Then you ask a question no one in the building expects. "What's in your account right now?" $61. Your clerk tells you afterward, quietly, that in 19 years, no judge has ever asked that. You start asking it every time, because $5,000 of bail on $61 of savings isn't a safeguard. It's a sentence with extra steps. You still get one wrong. A man you tag as a flight risk sits 4 months because he can't post. He loses the job, then the apartment, then the custody schedule. In month 7, the charges are dropped. Nobody apologizes. There's no form for that. You learn that your signature is a weapon that fires even when your hands are careful. That winter, Walter retires. 31 years. At his party, over sheet cake in a break room, he puts a hand on your shoulder. "You know the difference between a good judge and a bad one," he says. "The good ones are still scared. You are. Every single day. You start to understand that's the qualification." Level 5. The sentencing judge. To reach the felony bench, you have to win an election. And winning an election costs $340,000. You raise it the only way judges can. Fundraisers, handshakes, checks. And when you finally look at the donor list, you see it. 70% of the money came from lawyers. Lawyers who will stand in your courtroom next year and call you, "Your Honor." There is a word for this arrangement. Nobody in the building is allowed to say it. You win. The salary is $172,000. The defense attorney at the first table bills that in about 6 weeks. He rises when you enter. The math of this job will never stop being strange. Your first felony sentencing. Your hands shake below the bench where no one can see. You write the number on a legal pad before you say it, because a number in ink is just a number. A number spoken out loud becomes years of a man's life, and your voice is the trigger. You learn what discretion really weighs. A 22-year-old with an addiction, guidelines say 6 years, and you see something in the file, in the mother in the second row, in your own memory of a hallway in a folded 20. You give him drug court and treatment instead. The prosecutor is furious. A columnist calls you soft. 8 months later, the kid overdoses in a motel bathroom. The same year, you give another man the full 9. No mercy in you that morning. And 4 years later, a letter arrives from the prison's welding program thanking you for the wake-up call, with a photograph of a certificate. The letters never come from the ones you expect. You learn the hardest rule of the bench. You cannot predict outcomes. You can only own decisions. On sentencing days, You start carrying the $20 bill in your robe pocket. You stop sleeping through the night. 3:11 a.m. becomes a time you know personally. You lie awake doing arithmetic no calculator can hold. Years multiplied by faces. Level 6. The chief. They make you chief judge and the gavel turns into a calendar. Now you run the building you once guarded. A $31 million budget. 214 employees. Dockets. Security contracts. A broken HVAC system on the 4th floor. And judges with egos that need scheduling around. You hear maybe 6 cases a month. You miss the bench and you're standing on it. Then comes the steakhouse. A man named Hollis Grady, business card that says, Director of Judicial Relations for a pretrial services company. He orders wine you can't pronounce and offers you a seat on their judicial advisory board. $9,000 a month. 4 meetings a year. Their business is ankle monitors. $14 a day, billed directly to defendants. All the company needs, Grady doesn't quite say, is judges who see the value of supervised release. Their kind of supervised release. You do the math while he talks. $9,000 a month is $108,000 a year for 8 hours of meetings. It's not a bribe. Bribes are illegal. This is a business model. You tell him you'll think about it, then you go back and quietly pull the numbers and your stomach drops. 2 judges in your own district already sit on boards like this one. You look at their bail rulings and you can see it, plain as a receipt, a pipeline. Human beings routed into a revenue stream at $14 a day, signed by hands wearing robes. That weekend, you visit Judge Mabry, 81 now, retired, sharp as ever, a blanket over her knees. You tell her everything. She's quiet for a long time. The bench is a mountain, she finally says. Most men die up there because they think climbing down is the same thing as falling. Monday morning, you make a phone call to a number that isn't in the courthouse directory. Level 7. The Wire. The FBI has been inside the monitor company for 2 years. What they don't have is a room they can't get into and a man they can trust inside it. They have you. You spent 30 years weighing evidence. Now you are the evidence. There's a device, smaller than you imagined, and a technician who tapes it to your chest in a parking garage and tells you to breathe normally, as if that's a thing you'll ever do again. 3 dinners, 5 months. You sit across from Hollis Grady and you let him talk, and he loves to talk. You nod at the right times with your heart slamming against a recorder. In the mornings, you take the bench and sentence men for lying under oath while a lie is taped to your ribs. The irony is so heavy you could sentence it. The indictments land on a Tuesday. At 8:40 a.m., federal agents walk Judge Caro out of his own chambers in handcuffs, past the metal detectors, down the front steps into the cameras. A second judge, a county commissioner. The company's contracts evaporate by Friday. The headlines call you a hero. The building calls you nothing at all. That's the punishment. Elevators go silent when you step in. Half the bench finds somewhere else to eat lunch. You did the right thing, and the institution you saved will never forgive you for it, because you proved it needed saving. Judge Mabry calls you that week. Her voice is thin now, but the steel is still in it. Climbing down, she says, is not falling. You're 58. You've given this building 34 years, counting the door. On your last day, you hang the robe on the hook in chambers and leave it there. You walk out through the public entrance, past courtroom 4B, where a kid in a stiff new uniform holds the door for you without any idea who you are. In your mailbox at home, there's a card from Walter. 6 words. Still scared? Told you. Good judge. Level 8. The private judge. 6 weeks into retirement, a private dispute resolution firm calls, and you find out what you were actually worth this whole time. Corporations don't want trials. A trial costs $4 million, takes 3 years, and ends in a coin flip decided by 12 strangers. What they want is a room on the 40th floor, a signed decision by Friday, and a name both sides trust. Your name. The day rate is $14,000. You read the engagement letter twice, assuming it's a typo. It isn't. Companies pay it without blinking, the way your old defendants couldn't find $500 for bail. Your first year as a private arbitrator, you make $1.9 million, more than your last 11 years on the bench combined. And somewhere in the middle of that first year, the joke of it finally lands. The state paid you $172,000 a year, and the whole time it wasn't paying you a salary. It was building you a brand. The robe was never the job. The robe was the credential. Everyone in these conference rooms still calls you judge. You aren't one anymore. Doesn't matter. The title outlives the job. That's the entire business. You settle a $200 million shipping dispute before lunch on a Thursday. No gavel, no gallery, no mother in the third row. Just money, moving quietly between people who have never once been afraid of a courtroom. So you spend it on the people who have. You endow a scholarship at the night law school. Full tuition, one condition. The applicant has to work a day job inside a courthouse. Bailiffs, clerks, deputies. You know exactly who applies for it. You were who applies for it. One Saturday, in a coffee shop, a man in his 40s stops at your table. Gray in his beard, work boots, kind eyes. "You won't remember me," he says. 2003, "You found the thing in my file." Marcus, he owns 3 barbershops now, puts his nephews through school. His grandmother passed in 2019, and he tells you she prayed for you by name every night for 15 years. You shake his hand for a long time. You don't tell him about the 20 in your desk. Some debts you keep on purpose. Monday morning, across town, the courthouse opens like it always does. Outside courtroom 4B, there's a new bailiff, 24 years old, a casebook hidden inside his clipboard, $34,000 a year, and knees that already ache. At 9:15, a judge upstairs is going to say a number out loud, and a woman in the third row is going to make a sound that kid will hear for the rest of his life. He thinks his job is holding the door. He doesn't know yet. In that room, everyone speaks, but only one voice becomes years.